Hi, I'm the person who's going to talk to you a little bit about the business side of creativity. You may not like that, but it's really important. Because if we're all creative and you expect to make money at it, you gotta kind of understand some of the business side too. I think I'll talk about, how I think I've defined what success is. And I'll share it with you. I can tell you that success is not solely about exponential growth. What success is the impact that you have on each other. That's what it is, the level of impact you have on each other, on your team, how much impact there is on the clients, and therefore on their customers. Let's see where we begin. We begin with my parents, because why the heck should you listen to me if you have no idea where I come from? So, these are my parents. On your left is Mary Jo, on your right is John. And they actually met here in Chicago at CBS. My mom was a producer, my mom was a TV producer, and my dad was a director. I like to say that one part twice. My mom was a TV producer in the 1950s in television. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell her she got that this weekend. How freaking awesome is that? That's like 10 years before Mad Men began. She was in there just figuring out this newfangled thing called television. So my parents met. They got engaged. They got married. They had my brothers, whatever, who cares? But 15 years later, they had me. And that was... They were in New York at the time, and I kind of went into the family business right away. I became a child actor, so I worked in television, commercials, soap operas, stuff like that. I decided when I was going to college that I wanted to be even more like them and work behind the camera. So I went to Ohio University, go Bobcats, and I majored in telecommunications. So my degree's Bachelor's of Science in Telecommunications, and that means I focused on radio, television, broadcasting, which means it's pretty obsolete, everything I learned. But I sure learned about structure and production and storytelling and all that good stuff. I ended up moving to Portland, Oregon, which is where I still live 20 years later. And awesome. And I worked in production there and actually started working in the whole .com craze. I became a broadband producer at agency.com. Yeah, they couldn't really tell me what that was, except I was making these little movies on these big screens, and it was just weird. So I went back to traditional production, I worked in infomercials, and I started hiring animators, 3D animators, because it's right after Toy Story came out. And so I started doing, producing infomercials with animation in them, and I got fascinated by it. I am a big math and science nut as well as being a creative being, so I started really trying to understand what was the way that they all did that type of work. They had to know physics, and I just got fascinated by it. So what do? You become a partner in an animation company. And eventually I ended up being sole owner in this animation company called Animation Dynamics. That's what I've been doing for the past 15 years, running a 3D animation company. Now, a bit of news is that a couple months ago, I sold the company. So I ain't got no job now. It's kind of weird. Yay! Back to my mom. She hates it when I say I don't have a job. It really freaks her out. But it's okay. So this picture here is just a still from an independent film called Pop. It's a screwball comedy about two physicists. And I play Five, the girl from Mars. Good fun. You can find it on Netflix. So that's me. That's my bit of history and where I come from. What I'm going to talk about today, though, is about teamwork and about a creative team, because one of the biggest things that was a big value in the sale of my company was the team, because we don't make widgets. We work in a service company. And I bet a lot of you do too. And so where is the value? Yes, the client list, that's all important, but it isn't just in the finance, it's in the team. And I'm very, very proud to say that my team worked together for 5-10 years. There were a lot of people that stayed on and they developed, and there was new people that came in, but I had very, very low turnover rate on my company. So that's what we're going to talk about, and I like to begin with the Don. His name is Don, but he goes by the Don. It's awesome. He is a wonderful creative being. He is a voracious reader. He's a gamer. He is indeed a millennial, Gen Y. He is a bit introverted, but he's also very friendly. That's him on the left at work. He is a 3D character animator. And on the right is him at Burning Man. I just love that picture so much because he is in his element. So that's the Don, and those are the characteristics of the Don. I do feel it's really important that we all know bits and pieces about each other. That's how, when you're working in a team, you develop trust, because trust is the whole basis of everything when you have these relationships with folks that you're doing this creative work with. It's about being vulnerable with each other, which is really, really hard and really, really uncomfortable, especially when you have different hierarchy on your team, but it's all important. What I just want to say here is like with the Don, and I said he's millennial, I pause when I talk about that just because I don't want you to put him in a box. Characteristics are really, really important to have as guidelines when you can get an idea of where people are coming from, but it is not the end-all be-all. And I don't know if he was late because he's irresponsible like a millennial, no, or maybe he had some shitty night and he couldn't get in on time. So I'm going to ask all of you to kind of lay off on the millennials a little bit. I know we all have some different things about them that get us so angry. Consider that maybe they're 20-something, that this is their first real full-time job, that they haven't, when you tell them to dress up because there's a client coming and they come in like they're going out on a Saturday night, that's probably just because they don't know. They haven't experienced it. It's not necessarily a millennial characteristic. So that's my little precursor on that. Here is one of the most important things that I learned in running a company where there are so many creative people, as well as people who have to talk with the clients and respect the clients' time and needs and what they're paying for. We created this little thing that we called core time. What core time is between the hours of 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You can do whatever you like, of course. Every single person in the office needed to be able to speak intelligently about what they were working on. That means the CEO, the office manager, production assistant, project manager, whoever. But everybody needed to be able to speak intelligently about what they're working on. And this is so important because this is the business side. We have to be able to communicate clearly with each other. But we also need to have this special time because you can't make everyone be creative on demand. That's a function of what we all do if you do work in a creative company. But to expect that someone's best work's going to come when exactly you need it is not fair. That's going to come between 9 and 5. The Don, he liked to work a little bit later in the day, but Don was always there, 10:15-ish, but he was there checking his emails, checking his renders from the night before. He might have had this great surge of work late in the day, but the project manager knew that at 8 a.m., when the client called her or emailed her or whatever, she knew, and the client knew, because that's also really important, is to let the clients know that you have this thing called core time, because you are all the greater team. Respect that. They were able to say to the client, oh, well, when Don gets in before core time, I'll let you know what the work was last night. And the client knows that. And the client says, okay, can you get back to me by about 11 a.m.? That would be great. And that's what would happen. Also for the project manager, a lot of times a project manager may start earlier, account person may start earlier, they may be traveling, they may be at meetings, and they can end their day a little bit, maybe not earlier, but they're not working until 7, 8, 9 p.m., which is when the stride went into place for the Don. So core time absolutely works. Now I have a few things about words. This fabulous quote from Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. I hate the word try. I hate it so much. It's so freaking lame. It is, using the word try means you're giving yourself the opportunity, really, to not be successful. I tried. Yeah, but I need what you can give me. My brother-in-law does fantastic cross-stitch. It's awesome. And so he made this for me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And what you can't see is that bird that is on the end over the word try in white thread. It's pooping on the try. It's awesome. Makes me laugh. So instead of the word try, I, on my teams, mandate that they use the word commit. For example, is anybody in the front part here a project manager, account manager type? Okay, Kel, let's pretend that we were in a meeting, a client meeting. I know you've experienced this. You walk out of the meeting with a designer, which we'll pretend is me, and you need something for me to send to the client. So you might ask me when I'm going to do that.
You heard the requirement. When do you think you can have something for us?
When can I have it for you? Well, I got that 2-hour meeting with Andy later on. I want to go to that show tonight. And then tomorrow, I think my schedule, I can try to get that to you by end of day tomorrow on Thursday, okay?
Can you give it to me within a 4-hour window between 2 and 6?
Wow, Kel, wasn't expecting that. No, that's good, that's good. I can try to do that, yes. So what try does is makes you know that you're on pins and needles if you're Cal, thinking, okay, Kate's usually pretty prompt, but I don't know. You don't know for sure. Now, if we do it again, and we insist in our teams using the word commit, rewind, ask me the question again, please.
Could you give me something tomorrow afternoon, say after 2 p.m.?
Okay, I have that 2-hour meeting with Auntie today. I can try to give it to you by 2. I mean, that should work if nothing comes up. But you know what? I can definitely commit to getting it to you by 6. And actually, would it be okay? Could I just say I'm going to get it to you at 9 a.m. on Friday? And then I know it's going to be good work. And what happens then? Because I said the word commit, which is such a hard word to say, either when you're saying it and it's wonderful to hear, is that you're committing to it, that you really, truly, truly are expecting that it will happen, and you're going to try everything you can to make it happen. Try is like, I tried, which is bull. Commit to it, and then that really helps. That helps on the whole dynamics of the team, to know that each person is committing. The other one that I really, really dislike, and everybody says it all the time, is busy. I'm busy. I'm so busy. Screw you. I'm busy too. I hate it. I hate it so much. What busy means, and there isn't a different word to use, I'm not saying that like try and commit, but what busy actually means is that whatever you are asking that person to do and they've told you that they're too busy, that means you're not a priority, and what you need is not a priority, which is okay. We all have priorities in our life. Some days that family is all important because you need to go see them, you need to see the kids play soccer, whatever it might be. And then some days work's a little more important, and some days that project's more important than the other one. A lot of times with clients, we talk to them and say, I really need that feedback. And they go, oh, yeah, I know, I've just been so busy. I'm so sorry, my boss needs this thing. I will get it to you. I'll put the kids to bed tonight, and I'll get online, and I'll review it, and I'll send you something. And you're thinking, oh, great, you're going to have the best review from them at 9 p.m. because they're just trying to slide it in. And you're like, that's going to be a change order later. What I'm suggesting you do is when you hear someone say that they're busy, and they're someone that needs to get you something, someone that you want to have a conversation with, whatever it might be, when you need to get something from someone, and they say busy, find out how you can be a priority. Find out how what you're doing can be a priority. With a client, I'll say, okay, well, I know you have that error date you need to make. You have an event you need to make. You don't have time to push it. So if I don't hear from you by X date at X time, we're going to have to move forward. And we're not going to be able to double back and make your end date. If you can't get back with me in 3-4 days, okay, that's fine, but let me tell you now, what happens then is that'll get pushed out or to change order, or you figure out some way that you can make yourself a priority for that person. So my last little bit here, can you tell what these are? They're filters. There's water filters, there's oil filters, there's all different types of filters. What filters do, as we all know, is they let some properties go through and they hold other properties back, right? Make sense? So with filters, I think we all realize we have filters, especially when you're talking to kids. You'll filter what you're saying to make sure that they don't do something that they're not supposed to do, or make sure they get home at a certain time. You try to direct what you want them to do by using filters. Well, here's the funny thing about filters that everyone has. You listen with filters, and they are so hardwired. Let's say right now, with all the political stuff that's going on and all the commercials, I know I am hardwired when I see a Democrat commercial or I see a Republican's commercial. You know you're hardwired with a filter when that little voice inside of you says, I know what that means. Stop yourself. That's a filter. You can't change a filter. Like I said, it's hardwired. You can be aware of it, and that's where you can move forward. Because when you're in a conversation with somebody, in a team, in a work environment, and someone says something, you go inside, oh, I know what this means. I know what's coming up. I know what they're about to say. Stop yourself and dig for the gold. Mine for the gold. You have this big review, and the client says, I don't like yellow. So unhelpful to a designer. It's like, I worked on that for a week, and you had yellow in your, what am I supposed to do with that information? Mine for the gold. Because you know what? Sometimes the client just means it's too bright. Their definition of the word yellow may be very different than your definition of the word yellow. It may mean they don't like the color yellow, nor do they like light green or anything in that whole spectrum. But mine for the gold and find out what that means, because, again, we're hardwired to hear that way. And whoever is listening in a conversation, they're the ones who have all the power in the conversation. If you just take information and move forward and don't ask and mine for the gold, you might end up in a place where neither of you wants to be, quite honestly. So here are some references. I mentioned it earlier about trust. Some of you may know this first book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni, The Table Group. This is the Bible for me when I'm putting a team together. Everyone is handed this when I would hire them. Whether they read it or not, I didn't demand they read it. It's a really easy thing to read. It's a fable. It's fantastic because it really lays out how trust is at the root of any relationship, especially with a team. And if you have trust, you can have healthy conflict. If you have trust, you can have commitment. If you have trust, you can hold each other accountable, and you can get to true success. And for those people that don't read it, and they're in a team environment at my company, and someone starts holding someone else accountable right in front of them, and then they're sitting at the meeting going like this, and looking at me, and they're like, oh my God, they're both standing up, yelling at each other. I'm like, it's okay, just sit down, just take it in, it's fine. Because if everybody doesn't agree on something at the meeting, and we're going to move forward and deliver it to the client, if there's that one person that's saying, it's not going to work, I don't think it's going to work, fine, I'll just do it, that's what I'm supposed to do, it's not going to work. You may deliver something, but it's not going to be the end-all, be-all of the design and what you all went into the project thinking it would be. The second thing is the Hogan Leadership Values and Motives. Please look this up on the Googles. It gives a list of about maybe 10 things really helpful for a team. There's everything there on values and motives, like aesthetics, commerce, security, all these things that all of us in our lives might prioritize in different ways for our own beings, our own either creative beings or more leadership beings or whatever it might be. But if you know that maybe the top 3 of everybody on your team, and we would have them posted in our spaces, what everybody's top 3 were, it is so much easier to understand where someone is coming from when you need to jointly do a project together. This basically brings me back around. Brings me back around to me selling my company, which I wasn't planning to do. I've had some offers over the years, again, which is wonderful. People would talk to me about the client list. They get very interested. If you live in Portland, some of your main clients are either Nike or Intel, usually both. You probably then have a bunch of other ones like Adidas and Columbia and companies like that. Certainly, you get on that procurement list and you're like, yes, and then you're in. So there is value in that because we've been doing the work for 15 years. But the bigger value is the team. Because people stayed, but because the team grew, because we attracted some really fantastic experienced talent, which is hard in the 3D world since it's a relatively young industry. One of the things that I did, some of my peers who also own agencies thought I was a little crazy, was I had everybody at my company interview with the new company. So my company was named Animation Dynamics, still exists today. And the company that bought us is a company called Funnelbox, which is mainly video production, but they do a lot of stock photography. They do a whole bunch of moving image type stuff. But they didn't have any animation in-house. And they just recently did a whole new evaluation of their core values. And they were really putting it first out there when they were talking to their clients about these new embraced core values. And they matched up with ours. So everybody at my company, when they approached me and we went through all that client list stuff and seemed like it would be a good match, everybody went over one by one and interviewed with what would be the new leadership, the new ownership. If the core team had not felt like it would be a good fit and it wouldn't be a place that they necessarily may have wanted to work, the sale would not have gone through. Didn't matter how much I wanted to do it, didn't matter how much I said I would give to it, whatever. I left it all up to the team I had created. And I wanted to make sure, because success is the level of impact that you have on other people, I wanted to make sure that these human beings were going to be able to move forward and create even more and more beautiful things that, honestly, I couldn't give them, being the small business that we were, and I knew this larger company could really, really take them to the next place. So I left it up to them. And I kind of realized that when I started doing it, and it wasn't until afterwards and everything was done that I realized, oh my God, that could have totally bombed. And I would just be right where I was. That's what success is. It isn't solely about exponential growth. It really truly is about the impact you have on other people, and you can make beautiful, beautiful things together and really trust each other. Thank you.